Hello, Steve White, Trickway89 for Steve White's 89. Well, Midnight's Edge. More rumours. I'm not happy with them. Last week they were saying this week's Discovery was going to be an absolute shocker. It was going to be about, they were going to be using the Guardian of Forever. Now I hear it's next week they're doing that. So, I mean, they're all about, just wait till you see what's happening next week. Oh, we know about this. Oh, it's the same thing. It just seems like they just make stuff up at this point. Now, I don't know, maybe next week it will be about the Guardian of Forever, but it certainly wasn't this week. So, and they were all adamant about that. So, I'm not happy with that. But the last video that they did about Star Trek was actually about Star Trek 4. Now, Star Trek 4, the film, the new Star Trek 4, not the original, it's had problems. It started off, it was going to be about Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, the two Kirks meeting each other, but Paramount tried to cheap out and somehow tried to pay them less than what they were offered in their contracts when they're actually worth more now because they're both big stars and did other things. So I don't know if they tried to hold them to the original contract and they were just being divas and saying we are worth more than that now, or if they actually tried to offer them less. I've heard they tried to offer them less, but they may have just tried to hold them to the original contracts, which, were made before they were big stars. But either way, they walked, and Star Trek 4 kind of died at that point. They tried to sell different versions of it and different ideas for a while, but they seemed to just give up on it. Then there was the whole Tarantino talk. He was going to do a film which is the absolute opposite direction they needed to go in. It would have been the absolute anti-Star Trek film. Would have been just horrible. Unfortunately, other things intervened in him sort of stepping away from that, and he was never going to direct it anyway, so thank God that died. But then Star Trek 4 went to James Hawley, who was the guy working on Fargo, because Fargo, the series, is doing really well. I still haven't watched it. It was on my list and I forgot. He apparently was doing a story, and this has been nixed. I guess I'll go into that side first. Basically, he did an interview with Deadline, which I guess is the whole point of this, is what Midnight's Edge's video was about. On November 29th, did an interview with Deadline, and he was asked about the show, the film, was it going to be in his future, and he said, I don't think it's in my immediate future. Emma Watts came in and she wanted to go in a different direction. Now, she is a former Fox executive who basically is considered to really know what she's doing. She apparently wanted to take Star Trek back to its roots or something. The current rumour is that she actually wanted to go back to the original idea of Star Trek 4, and apparently, I guess they had the idea of, well, let's just pay for Kirk and pay for Daddy Kirk and just go with the original idea and it'll pay off. I think that's the approach they're probably going to go with. But people are like, well, how could they afford to do that? They couldn't afford the film before the pandemic. How can they afford that film with those actors now? Unless those actors have come down in their fees because they realise they can't ask for blockbuster billion-dollar paychecks anymore, because there aren't going to be any more blockbuster films anymore, billion-dollar blockbuster films anymore, because there aren't enough cinemas open, and won't be probably in the future, to actually facilitate that sort of film again. Endgame may have really been the endgame for Hollywood on some level, so maybe they have reduced their money, or maybe, I don't know, but that's the talk now, that's going to happen. Now, the thing with Hawley, the other thing with him is, the talk was that he was writing a film that was about a universal pandemic. This was a year or so before the pandemic, but now apparently it's like, yeah, no, we can't do that, because half the country won't see it because they think it's a hoax and they think they're on Trump's side, and the other half will eat it up. But, half of a reduced box office is not going to pay for Daddy Kirk and, Kirk. So, and also he wanted to have a one-off crew that we've never seen before and just start from scratch, which in some ways could have been brilliant, but in other ways it's just further away from what we want. What we want is Kirk and Spock on the Enterprise in their coloured uniforms, basically just updated, and who we want them to be, who we thought they were going to be in the second film, because the first Star Trek film, I really liked it. They had the the protection of an alternate universe so they could do whatever they wanted. The whole point was it was an origins film about get the crew together and have an action-packed adventure. They did, and then they promised at the end to boldly go when no one was gone for it. And everyone was on board for that ride. Everyone loved the first film, and they were excited about the next film. People I never thought would see that film were like telling me they saw the film. When I'd hook up with guys, and I'd be looking for the DVD collection, and they all had Star Trek in it, the movie. Not any of the other Star Trek. So their whole goal of expanding the franchise started to work with that. But then the second film didn't deliver. They didn't boldly go. They just went back to Earth. They did a terror story with the whitest man they could find in Hollywood. So it's like, yeah, to boldly go, strange new worlds, alien civilizations, and then it's like the whitest terrorist you ever met. It was just no. And then the third film, although they cynically tried, because they basically said, the message was, space exploration is boring, Star Trek is boring, it's only good when we're destroying everything and we're on the edge of dying, basically, which is not Star Trek's story. So that kind of got rejected, even though they did try harder. It isn't based on Earth. They spend a lot of the episode on a planet. Unfortunately, it's basically, planet Canadian backdrop, backlot. So it's really not that impressive. And they basically destroy the ship. Spoilers, they destroy the ship and then crash on the planet, and the whole episode is just they were trying to save money, but they can't save money because Bad Robot is all about leeching money out of Star Trek and then Paramount and getting paid to make the film and taking all the money for their producer credits and for themselves, and they're not actually putting it on the screen. And they do the same thing with the TV series. It's millions and millions per episode, and you don't see any of it on the screen. It's all going to the 19 or 20 producers and to the fee that they're paid to make the show. It's just a horrible deal that they got into with CBS when CBS alone owned the rights and Paramount wanted to get them back. It's just a mess. So I guess my two subjects are, yes, Star Trek 4 is dead. The Noah Howley version, but the rumours are, so reality is it's dead, the rumours are the original concept is going to come back, and I don't really consider it. I don't really take it very seriously because Midnight's Edge, they just have done this to me so many times where they've promised something. They've said, oh, we've got, these sources have told us this. It's a rumour. We can't, take it with a grain of salt. We can't confirm or deny. But here's exactly what you want to hear right now. And just with Star Trek, they're always wrong. They were kind of right with some of the Star Wars stuff and some of the Doctor Who stuff. But when it comes to Star Trek, after a certain point, they just started making stuff up, I think, just because people were watching. And I bought into some of that, and I'm very disappointed with them. And yeah, that's it. So I just wanted to make a video saying I'm disappointed with Midnight's Edge because, like this week, like I said, Discovery was supposed to be, they were using the Garden of Forever, and it was going to be just the most sacrilegious episode of Star Trek you could imagine, and none of it even happened. So whether it's in a future episode and they're just a bit ahead of themselves, or whether they're just making things up or repeating rumours because they sound good, not because they actually are real, because obviously the whole, well, we knew it was true, we just couldn't prove it, so we talked about it, that's what a rumour is, really doesn't hold up if those things never happened, because obviously it wasn't real and you weren't getting it from a real source, and you were either making it up or listening to someone else who was making it up and then willingly repeating it and promoting it because it's what people want to hear and it's going to get clicks and attention. I don't respect that. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to rejoice in the fact that I've got 6 more days till the next episode of Star Trek Discovery, and I am the eternal optimist. I think they could have done a Star Trek 4, and if they tried as much as they did with Star Trek 3 to be a Star Trek story, but removed the cynicism of basically Starfleet Star Trek is boring, and needs to be destroyed, which was basically the message that we got in that film. We have to tear it down and then struggle to get back, and the story of Star Trek in these films seem, and in the new Trek, seems to be struggling to get to the utopian future, not just being in it and exploring it. It's always trying to get to it, and then you get this un-Star Trek-like struggle, and then at the end you get this, we found our ideals and the future's going to be better, and then the next film they reset and tell the same story over and over again. And they never, it's always ends off with to boldly go where no man's gone before in the next film, and then they never do. So people kind of worked out after the third film they weren't going to get Star Trek out of these films. So if they start again and they actually deliver Star Trek, I see no reason why it can't be successful. They set the first film up great. If they'd paid it off with the second film, it would have been huge. It made good money, but it would have been huge. And the third film, because the second film was successful on the merit of the first film, the third film died. If the second film was good, the third film would have been good, the fourth film would have done well. They all would have done well. So I'd like a reboot. I'd like to go back to what the original film series promised. I think that could actually work. They've established the characters, they've established that universe, if they just pay it off properly. So again, they've worked out what I want to hear, and they're telling me what I want to hear, and I'm buying into it. But is it all going to poof, disappear like all the other rumours? I don't know. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Am I being too critical? Am I being too harsh? I mean, they say it's a rumour. Is it my fault for taking it seriously? Or should they just not be repeating things that are baseless? Because they can't have proof if these things turn out to not be true. So they could never have had the proof. So they were just repeating these stories when they had nothing to support them, really. I'm going to go. Bye.